welcome everybody to episode 43 of the Centre Circle podcast. Doing things a little bit different again this episode, doing it online. Got myself, Keith, hosting today, and we got Daz and Isaac. How you doing, boys? You alright?
Yeah, all good.
Nice, good
Good,
to have
fantastic. To be fair, I haven't
Been a while.
haven't been on in a while. Yeah,
you back. Yeah,
fantastic.
good to see your faces.
Yeah, it's been a while for me as well, so it's good to be back in the building.
Nice. Just before we start, just want to say thank you for all the likes, comments, subscriptions, follows, etc. Please keep it up. As you know, those are the kind of things that help us grow and get bigger, keep sharing this content with you. So please keep it up. Today, we're just going to talk about the last round of fixtures. So game week 20, that's just happened in the Premier League, and a couple other off-the-field topics. So we're going to talk about Fulham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, Forest United, Luton, Chelsea, Villa, Burnley. Just touch on the other games that happened as well. And off the field, just talk about Rooney being sacked as Birmingham manager, Sancho potentially going back to Dortmund, which looks pretty close. Arsenal speaking to the PGMOL about Saka's treatment on the pitch, and AFCON, which is coming up in the next couple weeks. So, right, let's jump into it.
And the
Fulham.
Asia Cup as well.
Pardon?
And the Asia Cup as well.
Yes, Asia Cup as well.
Yeah.
Fulham v Arsenal. Daz, over to you, because I'm not a resident Arsenal fan. You know, you've had a lot of criticism of Arsenal of late. So, over to you.
Yeah, to be honest, the last couple of games, it's not a surprise to me, to be honest. It's been coming. As you don't know, on the whole pod, the whole year, I've been saying it's not been right. And I said one of two things was going to happen. Either the performances will have to improve, or the results will start catching up to performances. And that's what we're seeing now. We're just seeing the results catching up. It wasn't sustainable. We were winning games that we should have been drawing. We were drawing games that we should have been losing. And as I said, it's not been right. And now the holes are starting to appear. So there's a lot of criticism gone on the manager, and I'm not sure it's all his fault. I think it's a combination of things. Tactics is an issue, because there has been a distinct change in tactics between last season and this season of what the team look like they're trying to do. But also, I have a little sympathy with him on personnel. I don't know whether that's down to him or whether it's down to people above him, but I feel like he doesn't have the tools to change it now. So I feel like this is going to be an ongoing problem for this season. I'm not advocate for, it's January, go and spend another 100 million. For me, that's just not a possibility, and it shouldn't be done even if it was. I think we are where we are now, and we just got to keep going. But as I said it a couple of months on the pod, I don't see Arsenal being in the title race. I feel we were looking to be coming third from what I saw performance-wise. And now I'm starting to think, we're going to be in more of a top four battle. I'm looking at maybe it's a top four battle this year rather than a title judge. Because, as I say, I've not been impressed with the team the whole season. So I can't turn around and say this is a blip. It's not. This is how the team has been performing, and we're getting away with it. And I've been saying that on the pod. And the other guys were saying to me, how can you say that? We're top of the league. And it looked bad that I'm saying, I'm not happy, but we're top of the league. But I could tell that it was kind of false. It was a false position because we wasn't playing like top of the league. There's so many games this season where 90th minute, we're hanging on. We're talking Nottingham Forest at home, we're hanging on. Wolves at home, we're hanging on. Luton, we're scoring in the 94th minute. And look at the teams I'm talking about. I'm talking about teams that we were battering easy last year. So these ain't top teams. These are teams near the bottom that we're hanging on against. So I think that it's just come to a point now where they got to keep going on. It's not all doom and gloom. We're still there or thereabouts. It's just that I feel that the team isn't where it was last season. So it's not terrible. It's not as bad. Everyone will react and say that, we've lost 2 games. A week ago, we were top of the league. So it can change really quickly. But at the moment, there is a lot of questions to answer. How do you guys feel looking in from the outside?
So just to pick up on what you said about like the personnel to not change things, like we mentioned that Arsenal's squad depth isn't that great, etc. Just in terms of the replacement, that if and when they do come in, the levels kind of drop a little bit. There's been a lot of criticism leveled at Rice over the last kind of week or so, which I think is being blown out of proportion. But I just think from the outside looking in, looking at your attack, the levels have just dropped. You look at last year, you had pretty much all your attackers firing on all fronts, and they were kind of all hitting double figures. This season, I think if you take Nketiah, Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus, they've only got 16 league goals between them. That's not good enough, really, is it?
That's poor, mate. That's poor.
No, yeah, I totally agree.
And just to go back on your point about tactics, what do you feel is different tactically between last season and this season? Obviously, you've had Rice come in, Partey's been sat out, Xhaka's gone, so there's been a slight change in the middle. But
I think it comes down to this word control. I feel like the team now is just want control of games. Like, the best way to describe it is that they want the possession. They're thinking about how they can nullify a team and how to make it less transitional rather than how we're going to win a game. Control doesn't let you win a game. So there must be something tactically different why every single player in the forward area numbers are down. It's not like one or two have fallen off. You could say that literally the whole front line has fallen off. So it's interesting, like the fullbacks, they don't overlap no more. It's all a control. They just want to be in control of the football. But that doesn't win you the game.
So
it might
just
stop
quickly,
you losing the game because all our defensive stats are all up. They're all better than last year. But all the attacking ones are all worse. So I just feel like the balance is not there. Go on.
Comparing last season to this season, and if you want a bit further, a bit beyond that, what would you say is Arteta's style?
His style is basically he wants to be like Man City. That's where he got his coaching education. So to him, that's what works, and that's what he's seen work. That's what he's seen that win titles. So he wants us to be like Man City in terms of style. I believe that's what he wants.
Okay, because I believe that as well. I believe that he is trying to implement his own version of Pep ball.
Yeah,
City's ball.
Totally
right?
agree.
And I think he's trying to be clever about it, and as a way of saying, look, yeah, I've come from there. Yeah, that's a great way of winning games and whatnot, and that's a great style to implement. But I'm going to try and do it my way. So I'm going to be clever about it, and I think it's backfiring in terms of the results and the performances that you're getting. I believe it's going to be to his detriment. I can't see, as long as he tries to continue down this path, I can't see Arsenal winning anything. I think you're always going to be the nearly team. You're always going to get to the end of the road, and things like last season are going to continue to happen. It's already happening this season. I think you're about to hit a rough patch, if I'm honest. I don't think that loss that we're touching on, I don't think that's just a one-off. I think that's going to start to happen quite a bit.
It's two of them already. It's two.
Yeah, it's back-to-back losses, isn't it?
I think it's going to be. I think we might see a few more over the next few weeks. That's just my opinion. I just looking at Arsenal, I look at Declan Rice in the middle of the park, and it's like, what is it that you're trying to achieve with just Rice in the middle? Now, a lot of talk I've seen is about Rice going side to side, much like Henderson was in his final season, right? But when you watch them at West Ham, he was very forward moving. A lot of his passes went through the lines. Remember the times in the group?
It's funny you say that, because there was a stat that came out saying that he's had the most progressive passes into the final third this season. So it's, what I mean, like saying that the criticism leveled at Rice of late is really weird.
Unbelievable. And do you remember we was in the group and I always used to say, if you actually watch West Ham, a lot of their goals come through Rice, whether he's assisting or scoring. So for the Arsenal fans to kind of start scapegoating him and saying that he's not progressive, I think it's just wild. I think what you did, where the blame needs to lie is, I know I've been vocal, I've been in this corner, but I'm starting to look at Erdegaard. I'm starting to look at other players around him. You know, it's Jesus coming out and saying goals are not my game. Well, clearly it's not, because you're not in the right areas. You're not putting the ball in the back of the net. Erdegaard in that last game was kept pulling out wide and crowding Saka's space. So if you're pulling out wide into his space and bringing another defender, every time Saka gets the ball, what's he going to have to do? He's going to have to come back inside. Right? That's why I was saying in the group, I think Erdegaard would be more potent in this game. I'm not saying, I wasn't speaking, generally speaking, but just from what I could see in the game, I think he would have been more effective trying to break the lines through centrally, because then a player like him, with his passing range, he could either find Saka out wide, he could find Martinelli, he could find Jesus through the middle, or whoever else it may be. I just think you're starting to look a bit bereft of ideas. To be honest,
Yeah,
I think
predictable.
you're
Predictable is
you're hitting a brick wall.
But
Definitely.
I feel like they have been found out as well. I feel that other teams now know how Arsenal play and what they want to do, and more importantly, how to stop it. Last year, we sort of had that element of surprise. We weren't expected to be where we was. Now, teams are preparing for us. Teams are looking at the fixture like, okay, we got Arsenal. Let's get our game plan right. Last season was it was sort of an unknown quantity. No one expected us to be like that, and then so now it's so much harder.
Yeah, and it's
One thing I do
interesting.
want to come.
No, like I say, interesting at the start of play. I was listening to another podcast the other day, and they were saying that only, I think we had Luton and Sheffield United have attempted more crosses than Arsenal in the league this season. And if you look at who Arsenal's forward line is, kind of Nketiah and Jesus, like why are you putting so many crosses in the box? Because they're not the kind of people that are going to win headers, are they?
Yeah, nice. And this whole control game that he wants to play, the Man City style, I feel like for our team, I think it's too much of a mature way to play. This is a young team, and it feels like he's kind of taken the fun and the young element out. They were sort of like playing carefree last season, sort of you playing a little bit off the cuff. Now it seems like it's just everything is so tactical. Every single move is sort of been designed, and they need to be thinking constantly through the game. I'm meant to be here, I'm meant to be there. It's like they're not doing nothing off the cuff. They don't look like they're enjoying playing this way either. So I don't know whether it's a bit too early to try and implement this into a team that's so young.
Do you know what I've noticed? Right, and I'm not. It might sound wild. I'm not comparing them as like for like, but if looking at your front three, let's just say Marti, Jesus, and Saka, you've got the makings of what we had in terms of Mane, Firmino, Salah, right? You've got a wide right player that can cut in on his left, who's good at dribbling, who knows where the goal is. You've got a front man who's very good at link-up play. Let's be honest, Firmino's strong point wasn't goals. He was very good at linking the play between the attackers and the midfield, dropping into the space, allowing Mane and Salah to exploit the space behind him. And then you've got Marti, who's a very direct dribbler, much like Mane was, right? I don't understand why Jesus he doesn't become more of that link player that Firmino was and allow Saka and Marti to be more direct and bigger goal threats. When I look at the three of them, I honestly see our front three in their prime, right? Or the potential to be similar to that. And it's just, the tools are there. It's just frustrating to see them not being utilised or what they could be,
So the big question for me is that the changes and everything that's going on, is it by design or is it not? See, that's one question where I can't answer. Has he looked at him and said, yes, I want to go this way? Or is this just what's happened because other teams are setting up better? I don't know. So it'll be interesting to know whether it's by design.
I guess we'll never know, right? I
Mm.
mean, to be honest, you just kind of have to. I mean, Arteta's not going to come out and be like, "Yeah, look, this is exactly what's happening." No manager's ever going to do that. They might, come out and give us tidbits here and there, but no manager's ever really going to come out and say, "Right, this is my philosophy. This is what I'm working with. So this is what I'm doing." You just have to hope that he figures it out. I don't think it's a personnel problem, like a lot of Arsenal fans seem to be aiming at. I think it's a mixture of the tactics that he wants to employ, maybe the personnel. You just don't have the right personnel. Much like when Pep arrived at City and he said, right, clearing out the deadwood. In order to play a certain style of football, I need a certain style of play. I think it's a mixture of things, and I think that it's not just one thing to put your hat on.
It could be a bit of fatigue as well, because if you do the parallel comparisons with Liverpool last season, the reason why Liverpool was so bad last season was because a lot of the players, their performances dropped off at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after us having a really intense season beforehand. And you could say the same was kind of happening with Arsenal. Arsenal were kind of all guns blazing up until like April, pretty much played the same team. And now it could be a case of fatigue. Because if you, as I said before, if you look at your front line has dropped off. From last season, you could say, right, maybe Saliba, Gabriel in defence, and I'd say Saka. I'm going to give Saka some grace because Saka's put in some really good performances this season. They're the front three, or they're the three that have continued their good form from last season, where the rest, you look at Odegaard, you look at Martinelli, you're looking at Jesus, Zinchenko, even Ben White to an extent, like their levels.
To more than an extent. He's been one of the main culprits,
Yeah, so if one or two players' levels drop, then it doesn't have much detriment. But when you've got like 5 or 6 players around the team, then you notice it a little bit more. And I think that's what's happened with Arsenal. And you never know, second half of the season, they might kick on. They might get a little bit of form back. But yeah, I don't think it just can be blamed down to like one player or the tactics. I think there's just kind of a multitude of things that have kind of gone wrong. And when you're making Calvin Bassey look like Maldini, you know something's wrong. He had a great game. So up next for Arsenal is Liverpool in the FA Cup. What's your thoughts on the FA Cup? Put a strong team out, try and go for it, or
100%. We're Arsenal fan. We love FA Cup, innit? It's something that's been good for us. So obviously further out, you don't want to get Liverpool, but at least we're at home. You want to go for it. You want to win. Definitely want to win that one.
Yeah, and then if you go back to the league, you've got a couple weeks break because there's the winter break that we have over here now. You have Crystal Palace at home.
Yeah.
Must win?
100%. Has to. Palace at home. Has to be a win. It'll be interesting to see what teams he goes with, really, in both those games.
I'm
Liverpool
quite intrigued.
Will make a couple changes, I'm expecting, against Liverpool.
Yeah, but I think with both teams, we've got the luxury of having 2 weeks off after the game, isn't it? So you could essentially go full strength a week after playing your last Premier League game and then knowing that you've got a 2-week break coming up. So,
I don't think Liverpool has that luxury, to be honest. With the loss of Mo Salah and Endo to the AFCON and the Asian Cup, I don't think we can completely put out a strong squad and risk an injury. Yes, it's 2 weeks, a 2-week rest afterwards, but you could potentially get an injury that's longer than 2 weeks to one of the front line, and then we come back 2 weeks later and we're down not only Salah and Endo, but we're down someone who's injured. I hear you though. I do. Don't get me wrong. I do hear you. I believe we should put out as strong a squad as possible, but I do think there will be some caution around the fact that we don't have our talisman up front and probably one of our best players over the last few weeks, Wataru Endo.
Yeah. Well, he
I
actually
thought you
got
guys had the
Liverpool Player of the Month.
semi-final in the week. I didn't think you had 2 weeks back. I thought you got and you got the Carabao
Oh yeah,
semi-final in the
I
week.
forgot about
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's not
we got
2 week break
Fulham
for you
next
guys.
week.
Yeah, yeah,
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, we
There
haven't
you
even got a
go.
break.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we don't even
Yeah.
get the choice.
Mm.
All right, so yeah, continuing with Liverpool, the frantic game that happened on Monday kicked off the
Mm.
Premier League in the new year in style. Isaac, what you say?
Listen, mate. We are firing on. I'm not going to say all cylinders just yet, but we're in good spirits. It's a shame. Well, let me take that back. It's not a shame that we're losing them. I understand why we're losing them. They're going to represent their countries in their respective national tournaments. But I will just say, we've hit a good patch at the moment, where all our players seem to be finding good form. So yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. It would have been good to have Salah and Endo for the Arsenal game, for the Carabao semi-final, and then any other games we've got in until they get back. In terms of the game itself, boy, I
We
want to
absolutely
say,
slapped their heads. We
do you know
absolutely
what?
slapped
Yeah.
their heads, bro.
I wanna come in and wax Liverpool and be like, yeah, look, we was this, we was that. But a part of me is like, Newcastle are just a show at the moment. They are just a show. I can't take complete pride in that performance and be like, yeah,
I'm
we
going to
battered
slightly
them.
disagree because granted they scored 2 goals. Their first goal was really good, like the equaliser, really, really good goal. But I think aside from that, like they offered nothing, and I think that was down to us more than them. Like I know Gordon looked like dead on his feet, like from minute 1, to be honest, even though he set up Isak's goal. But yeah, I just think we nullified them in all areas of the pitch, and everyone was just on form. Like I've been a bit of a critic of Luis Diaz over the last few weeks, and I think that was his best game for us in maybe like a year or so. Like
That's my guy.
even when he got subbed off, I was like, don't take him off. Like he's
That's
having
my
a
guy.
field day. But yeah, everyone just kind of seemed on job. And again, another one who I've been a bit critical of, Joe Gomez, since he's come in and done a job at left back, like done really well against Arsenal. Again, last
what? Yeah.
on Monday, like he just looks comfy, like back to his best.
I don't understand. Don't get me wrong. Joe Gomez, he's not world class, but he's consistent in terms of his reliability. Right, you can rely on him to come in and do whether it's a decent or a good job. He's going to come in. He's going to give you what he can. Right, and you're right. We've needed him at left back. He's come in and he's deputised very well. Sometimes I think the criticism of him, it can be a bit harsh. But I understand maybe that's because a lot of people may have a higher standards for him, and sometimes he doesn't hit those 8-9 performances. But he's not going to come in and have a stinker. I can't remember the last time he had a really bad game.
Brighton last season, he had a couple last season. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, but you've also got to remember he's not been given a good run of games.
Yeah,
Remember
what's his position? What's his position?
Remember the
What's
last
his number 1 position? Gomez.
Centre back.
So he's a centre back. Yeah.
But I never see him at centre back. You never get to see him at centre back, really. Whenever I see him in the team, he's always right back.
But if you remember back to when Gomez and Van Dijk were untouchable, right? Ever since then, because I know we got injured, and then he's never held down a regular place in the team because we've had Matip
played well, and then Kanate come in, who's a bit of a monster.
Yeah, so it's just like, I mean, he strikes me as a player that needs a run of games to get back on his feet, and then once he's there, he's reliable. I think he's a reliable player. I like him. I really do.
On his day, he's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to the game. Darwin had a couple chances before Liverpool took the lead, and obviously we had a goal disallowed because he was kind of marginally offside. Yeah, so even for the first goal, Darwin, I tweeted that the confidence of him, I think he could sell it because no matter what he does, even if he misses the chances that everyone thinks he should score, he continues to get in the same positions and offer something like, you can see a player's head visibly drop during a game. Not once have I ever seen that with Darwin. No matter how bad we think he's playing or the media think he's playing in a game, he will always run and give you that consistency and kind of be where he needs to be. So for that, I rate him. We've spoken about his kind of big chances missed, etc. Something he's got to work on, like we know. But then, like you say, for the first goal, he gets into a good position for Mo to pass it across, sets it up 1-0. And I think if you have that kind of confidence to keep getting in those positions, you're going to be of a benefit to the team. And then, Newcastle equalised, really good goal. Slightly at odds with Van Dijk for how far he dropped off for that, but fair enough. And then, we created another good goal via Curtis Jones. Gakpo, they get another goal back. And then the penalty incident, which for me, I think there's been far too much discussion and discourse about it. Like he got clipped. No matter how late he goes down, it's a penalty in my eyes.
Nah, man. That's
What's your disagreement there?
That's an integrity thing for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. You've been clipped. Yes, cool. We've seen the footage. We've seen the pictures. Yes, all right. He got clipped, but bro, he was through on goal. He's through on goal. It's like get the ball, cut back, either put it in the back of the net yourself or make the pass. You're through on goal. He didn't need to go. Like he did not need to go down.
But if he wasn't confident of scoring, because they had two players running back onto the line, if you're not confident of scoring, why not just go down and get the penalty? Like you were clipped, you're going to get the penalty. Better chance of scoring.
Don't get me wrong. I understand that, and I understand it. I respect it in that aspect, but from an integrity point, something in me just doesn't feel right about rounding the keeper. You're through on goal, and then taking a dive. Do you know what I mean? It's like imagine Ronaldo against Lazio 1997 UEFA Cup. It was a dive, man. Imagine he's ran. You know what he does? The jinky majinky goes past the keeper. I imagine him then diving because he's felt a little nick on his ankle. Like, no, man.
But the thing, you can't dive if you've been clipped. If you've been clipped,
but I think that's where we are at the game now. He's not the only player that would have done that. That's where we are with the game.
It is slightly.
It's one of those things where even looking at it, I'm like, well, there's nothing I can really say. Like he's gone down and won the penalty to make sure he gets the goal rather than risking it, as Keith says. He might not have scored.
No, and I get that. And again, I'm not saying I'll remove the goal. Like, I'll take the goal all day. I'll take the point. but at the same time, I'm just like, there's something in me that just doesn't sit right with me. That's all.
Yeah, no, I understand where the discourse is coming from, but yeah, you take it.
Can we have a word on Newcastle? Because they are conceding goals left, right, and centre at the moment. They're really, really struggling.
Got dropped.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was injured. Was he not injured?
Oh, they saying it's injury.
Yeah, I thought he was off.
Yeah, I think it's injury. Yeah,
after the last 3-4 games, you better say it's injury. Save some face.
Yeah, no, it's injury.
I wouldn't be surprised if he turned up to training. Oh, I felt a little tweak in my hamstring. Whatever.
Yeah. So if we look at their last few fixtures, obviously they lost 4-2 on Monday.
If you're letting Chris Wood get a hat trick against you, then you got problems. If Chris was bagging a hat trick that's madness.
A good hat trick as well. They lost 3-1 to Forest. They lost 1-0 to Luton. They drew with Chelsea in the cup.
I think they lost that in penalties as well, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last game they won was on the 16th of December against Fulham. But that's like one win in the month of December.
But even that, they lost the 3 before that, didn't they? Because I think they lost to Milan, Tottenham, and Everton, and they were big. They were like 3s and 4s that they were letting in there as well. They've really fallen off. What we saying about Eddie Howe? Do you reckon he's under pressure?
No, I was saying on the last pod to John, I don't think he is yet, because just for me,
No.
I think they're at where they're meant to be. Last season was a bit of a freak season in terms of teams around them not playing as well. All their players were playing on 9-10s most weeks. I think they exceeded expectations. I think now they're kind of where they should be, to be honest.
What,
So,
ninth in the league? That's where they should be.
but if you think about their progression, like Eddie Howe came in 2 years ago this month, I think it was,
Mm.
and they were near the relegation zone. So they that season they finished kind of mid-table or wherever they finished, and then last season was just a total anomaly. Like, they shouldn't have finished where they finished. Yeah, I just think they're where they should be, to be honest, with the players that they've got and the manager that they've got. Like, they've got no world beaters in their team. Like, on his day, Kieran Trippier is really good. Isak's really good, and Gordon. And then you'll put on his day Bruno
Tonali
might
and
get into
Guimaraes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bruno might get
Look
into
at the
most
money they've
teams.
been spending. These are
But
big players who've come in for big money. Isak was 60 mil.
yeah, but I'm saying they're like the main four players. Outside of that, you still got your Dan Burns, you still got your Longstaff, you still got your Willocks. Like, yeah, the squad is playing well, but they're not blessed with world beaters to say, right, they should be challenging with Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and those teams. In my eyes, anyway. And you could compare their squads to Aston Villa, but Aston Villa have got a better manager.
And West Ham above them. Tottenham. They've got a good squad as those teams. It's not better.
So for me, Eddie Howe's come in. He's done a good job. It was uphill. They've, like we said many times before, we think they're ahead of plan, and now they've hit a rough patch, right? And it's a case of now we're really going to see if Eddie Howe's the manager that the initial 2 seasons beforehand have made everyone believe he is, right?
Yeah.
You really find out if you're a manager in the tough times. So I think he's not under any pressure just yet, but we're really going to see how good he is over the next month or two.
I think he'll be under
100%.
pressure, definitely by the end of the season. I think that Eddie Howe will be Newcastle's Claudio Ranieri when Abramovich came in, and Man City's Mark Hughes when them guys came in.
Oh yeah, but I think he was that anyway. I just think he exceeded expectations. I don't think they planned for him to be manager this long, if I'm truly honest. I think it was a case of him come in, steady the ship.
Yeah.
And then last season, I don't think they expected to get to Champions League. I think if they had finished maybe like between 10th and 5th, it would have been justifiable to say, like, right, you've steadied the ship for us. We want to get a manager in to kind of take us to another level.
Okay.
Because he done so well, there was no way they could have been like, oh, we need to get rid of him. Like, so, and I think this could be the season now where they'd be like, right, you took us to a certain plane, you can't really maintain it. Now we want to try and get someone in. So if they continue as they are to the end of the season, I think it'll be justifiable to say, right. But that's what he steadied the ship in it, like, and got them Champions League football. I think it's okay. Right, so moving on to can't even say this is like a surprise anymore. Man United defeat to Nottingham Forest. So despite Matt Turner's efforts to get Man United a result out of this game, Nottingham Forest won the game 2-1. So we've spoken on this pod about Manchester United's inconsistency, and they've gone into this game after having a superb comeback against Aston Villa, really, where they were 2-0 down at half-time. They managed to win the game 3-2 in what we said in our group chat was arguably their best 45 minutes of the season. Like, I don't think they've played that well. I can't remember them playing that well at all. And it was a case of, right, can they now kick on and take that 45-minute performance and package it up into a 90-minute display? And no, the answer is no. Like, Nottingham Forest were the better team. And Man United, again, just looked flat and abject. Like, did you guys catch the game? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I think Man United are on Man United at this point. I was shocked to hear that obviously Haaland had picked up an injury after scoring a goal. I think that was very detrimental to their chances. You'd want your striker who's just scored, you want him to carry that momentum into the next game.
Yeah.
I think that didn't help. Rashford, we know what his stock is like as a central striker. It's not great. He's then flanked by Anthony, who just can't seem to find any kind of decent form, and Garnacho, who is actually probably their most, potent looking attacker in terms of getting forward and trying to create something and trying to do something and actually, put the ball in the net. The midfield itself, the whole team just looks poor. That's the best way I can describe it. The whole team just looks poor, and not in them off the back of that win against Newcastle, Chris Wood getting that hat-trick, Elanga with a point to prove. You knew they were going to come in and be on 10. It was just a case of, can Man United match it? And I didn't think they would. So, yeah, like you said, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I think Ten Hag is under pressure. And if he isn't, I'm shocked that he isn't. But he definitely should be under pressure.
Yeah, and on Nuno, this was his third game. So the first game that he had was when they who'd they play? Was it Sheffield United? No, bear with me.
I will say though, just while you're checking that, Nuno looks the better fit for Nottingham Forest and the personnel that they have than Steve Cooper did. I think if you watched any of Steve Cooper's games, he had this element about him of trying to be much like what Vincent Kompany's doing with Burnley, trying to play like a more technical style of ball rather than trying to play a style of ball that's going to keep you in the Prem, but also keep you away from the relegation zone. You don't want to be in and around tussling with the relegation zone, not with the amount of money you've spent or the kind of players you've brought in. And I think,
yeah, definitely.
If you look at Nuno and his time at Wolves, not so much Tottenham, but his time at Wolves and what he was able to do with that team and how kind of stable he was able to make them, I think that's what you want, right? So he's got a proven track record and it's clearly working at the moment. So
yeah, definitely.
I think he's going to be a good fit for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, that first game was against Bournemouth when Willy Bolly was harshly sent off early on in the game. And they were in the game, like, even with the 10 men, like, they went 1-0 up in that game. And then you go to their second game, they essentially dominated Newcastle at St James's Park. And then again, played Man United at home, the much better team. So I know they kind of speak of the new manager bounce, but he started his tenure really, really well at Nottingham Forest. It's interesting just in terms of, you're talking about Man United's midfield there, Isaac. So in the match, 0-0 at half time, they took off Mainu at half time for McTominay, which I thought was weird. At the time, I thought he was injured, but Ten Hag said it was a tactical switch. And I just think that made them more exposed in the middle of the park once he came on, which is an indictment of how good Maino has been for Man United. Maybe if the rest of the players around him were playing better, then there might not be so much spotlight on him and his performances. But yeah, I thought that was a bit weird. And also, it's interesting, the goal they conceded, the first goal, Dominguez, was essentially a winger getting to the byline and cutting it back for someone to run in and scored. And I saw a clip on Twitter that Man United have conceded so many of those goals this season. I think there was like 5 or 6 examples where that has happened. So they're kind of getting overrun in midfield, like their midfield's not tracking back when people are making runs into the box. The equaliser, Matt Turner error. We know he's not good with his feet. He's not that great with his hands, to be honest. And I thought it was going to be like really harsh if Man United got a point out of that game.
Can I just shoot him a little bit of bail? on that one. A
You
little
can try.
Let me try, right? Because I don't think the pass was a bad idea. I just
Oh, no, it
think,
wasn't. But the execution, isn't it?
I think that's why I'm trying to shoot him some bell. I don't think the pass was a bad idea. I just think he was a bit. If he was a little more switched on, he'd have seen Garnacho trying to steal the pass, trying to steal the yards on him to get the pass. Maybe a little dummy to fake him. Maybe just open up your body and just clip it. Do you know what I mean? But I get you. Don't get me wrong. Matt Turner's made a couple of shocking mistakes during his time at Nottingham. But
He even
I would say
passed the ball back to himself. Did you see that? When he miskicked it and it spun in the air and he caught it himself. It's like, that's a new one, isn't it? Like, you're going to get away with it. And then a gentleman that we've kind of spoken about on this pod quite a few times, Morgan Gibbs-White, pops up with a winner. Really good finish.
Good player.
Thank you. I
think
really good player.
Good player.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think he is.
No, he is.
I've had a few discussions with people telling me he's not good enough.
And the thing is, as well, he fell out with Nuno, didn't he, at Wolves? And Nuno sold him. So there was, when he came into Tottenham Forest, there was a little thing of how's he gonna react? How they be able to get on? But it seems like it started really well. So that was just a little dynamic that them two.
I think Nuno's gonna have to respect him now, isn't he? Because
because he's come on loads. Yeah,
exactly. And I imagine that the spout at the Wolves would have been about game time, right? Because he was obviously on the fringe trying to get
young,
first team.
Young, and then he went on loan to Sheffield United.
Loaned him out.
And he's a first team regular. So you're coming into my space now. Yeah, you're the gaffer, but I'm already established. So you can't treat me how you've treated me at Wolves. It's a new dawn, as they say. So yeah, I'd imagine it'd be a much better or different dynamic.
Yeah. But so do you think that go on.
No, I was just gonna say it has surprised me how well Nuno started. When I saw that appointment, I wasn't expecting too much from it, but all props to him. They started really well.
Yeah, well, I think this is kind of his level, isn't it? Like, I was more surprised he got the Tottenham job than getting this job. Like, I think the jump from Wolves to Tottenham and what the kind of Tottenham environment, I didn't really see it kind of working out for him, which obviously it didn't. Like, he was only there like 3 or 4 months, if that. I think this is more settled now. So I know Forest are kind of near the relegation zone. Do you think they're going to be safe? Do you think there's 3 worse teams than them, essentially?
Yeah.
There is definitely 3 worse teams than them. I think they'll be fine. I cannot see them getting relegated this season.
Cool. And then just to finish on Man United, are we just saying this is going to be their season now? Get a good win, or not even get a good win, get a win, whichever way they do it. Usually this season, it's just been a bit just kind of stumbling over the line and then lose maybe the next game, etc. Just up and down to the end of the season.
Exactly that. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I can see that pretty much happening. And it'll be interesting to see with Sir Jim now kind of taking over the footballing side, like what his assessment is of things. I said in the last pod, I think they'll give him to the end of the season regardless, and then make a decision then, because he only signed a 3-year contract, so he'll only have 1 year left at the end of the season. Might be cheaper to get rid of him then. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Ten Hag with that. Next fixture we're going to talk about is Luton and Chelsea. Entertaining game this one was. And the boy, Cold Palmer, as they're now nicknaming him.
Is that the name?
Yeah, Cold Palmer. You not see the celebration where he it's weird that he's come in from being on the fringes of Manchester City for the last kind of 2 years, getting little runs out here and there, to coming into Chelsea and essentially being the main man. Like, it's just a case of too much talent at Man City ahead of him for him to make his mark.
He really surprised me because at City, I didn't see this. A lot of people were saying he's a good player. I saw little bits.
Yeah, there
Maybe
were
when he went to,
glimpses.
maybe in the under-21s tournament, that's the first time I thought, okay, he's got a bit more to his game than what I thought. But yeah, he's been a revelation at Chelsea. To be fair, like, you got to hand it to him. He's done really well.
Yeah, what about you, Isaac?
Oh, shame. Look at that. Old school rookie mistake. Too much talent ahead of him, to be honest. Way too much talent ahead of him at City. And Pep's always made it clear, look, regardless of how good you are, if there's a player that I feel is more suited to the role I need, he's going to go out and get them. So I think with Cole, what I did find interesting was, like you said, that he was in and around the team, but he was in and around the team for a long time. He wasn't just one of those players that was just. He had maybe one or two good performances in the under 21s, and they've brought him in for a game or two, and then he's gone back down. You never hear of him again. He was in and around the first team for a good season and a half, playing in the cups, playing in small minutes here and there. So I think for me that let me know, okay, he must be a decent player if Pep's got him around the first team that much. And yeah, sometimes it's just the timing's just unfortunate. You know, you're in a setup where there's just better players in front of you, and it don't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon. So unless you're gonna put in Leo Messi level performances, you're not getting in ahead of them. But it's worked out for him. It's definitely worked out for him.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he's got into the England squad in the season leading up to the European Championships. So he might be in and around the discussions then. So yeah, really good move for him. And I think it was only a £40 million signing, wasn't it? Like, it wasn't a lot of money, like saying 40 million, but that's just kind of the new norm at the minute, isn't it? So yeah, he's going back to the game. Luton played really well, and I'd say most of Chelsea's goals came against the run of play. And Luton have done, I wouldn't say they've done really well, but their performances have been really good against the bigger teams, especially at home. Like, the last 10 or 15 minutes of this game, they could have easily scored 3 goals to get the equaliser. We mentioned that against Liverpool, they put in a really good performance. Against Arsenal, the same. Tottenham. So they are really good at home.
City as well.
Yes, and City. So they're putting in the performances at home against the big teams. It's just whether they can take that and turn those performances into points, essentially getting a draw here or nicking a win there, like they did against Newcastle a few weeks ago. Does this say more about kind of Chelsea's inconsistency as well? I know they got the result, but they were essentially dominated by Luton. Is this just, again, how Chelsea are going to be for the season? A bit inconsistent until the season's over.
We can't keep hanging our hat on the fact that they're a big squad and they're still trying to gel, right? I mean, we're halfway through the season, pretty much. They should have found form and rhythm. They've got players with a lot of international experience, a lot of high-level football experience. So by now, they should be in, like I said, they should be in rhythm. They shouldn't be struggling against Luton. I don't care how well Luton played. A team like Chelsea shouldn't be struggling against Luton. That's just my opinion. So I think that we need to start looking at Mauricio at some point.
No, I get it. Did you see the camera panning on Thiago Silva at the end of the game, and he was just in utter disbelief at like what he'd been part of, and I've most probably for the last kind of 10-15 minutes where there was just an onslaught, and I think he thought 3-0 up they should have been like dead and buried Luton. But it's also interesting since then his comments about the Premier League. I don't know if any of you guys saw that. So
no, what did he say?
No, what did he say?
He said that when he was younger, he never saw himself playing in the Premier League just because of the style of football that was played in the Premier League. But he said when he saw Pep come over, and he said Pep has kind of changed how the Premier League is played. That's why he essentially joined Chelsea. I think that's a bit kind of disingenuous because I think if you look at the if you look at the style of football that's played in the Premier League, granted he's been around for a long time, and like he's 38, so he was around when like Serie A was top of the shops and etc. But he played for PSG for however many years. Like the level in league is not great. So interesting that he said that Pep was the reason why he joined the Premier League. But interesting.
That is interesting, but I wouldn't say that though, because there's only a couple of teams that play how Pep plays. The majority of the Premier League don't play how Pep plays.
Yeah, Chelsea certainly don't. I'll tell you that. So, interesting. But we said if any of the 3 promoted teams that came up would survive, are we saying it's Luton? Just on the style of play? Yeah, you don't want to say it, Isaac, but you want to say it, don't you? Go on.
Yeah, of course it's Luton.
Just say it, man. Just say it.
I'm not there yet. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
So you think Burnley or Sheffield United?
I'm still in the Burnley camp.
They're awful.
In the Burnley camp.
Yeah,
I think once Vincent Kompany puts his ego aside and says, right, look, this style of play is not working, we need to be a bit more pragmatic, then I think they will find a few more points here and there, and things will change.
Fair enough.
Definitely Luton.
Yeah, I'm with you, Daz. I think of the teams that have come up, I think Luton are playing the better football. And I think
the days we were talking about Luton not getting past Derby's record and stuff like that. Look at them now. Yeah. He passed it halfway through.
Yeah, they're on 15 points. Yeah. So with a game in hand on the teams around them.
Bad that sounds. Look there, they're on 15.
It's funny. Man. Right, moving on to another one of the kind of title challenges, we can say that. Aston Villa, they were made to work against Burnley. I'm just going to go straight to the penalty incident. Daz, did you see it? Daz, what do you make of it as our resident?
No, I didn't see this. The Douglas Luiz, I didn't see.
So he scored the penalty, but I think who was tripped? Let me find out. Just having a quick scroll.
Wait, I think I did see this one. And it wasn't a penalty. It definitely wasn't a penalty.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find out who it was. But yeah, from the camera angles that I saw, it didn't look like a penalty at all, and I can understand why the Burnley kind of contingent were so aggrieved. So yeah, it was John Duran who went down.
Yeah, I can't recall. I can't recall it, but yeah, but I remember when I did see it, I didn't think it was a penalty.
Yeah, and I just think Aston Villa were lucky. Like, this was one of Burnley's better performances. Obviously, they had a man sent off in the 56th minute. Sunderberg got sent off, so they were kind of under the cosh anyway. But then when you're kind of getting these decisions going against you, it's hard, isn't it? Like, the Premier League's hard enough as it is. And when these things happen, it's like there's not much you can do. You just got to take it on the chin, haven't you?
Yeah, you have to. Those are the breaks. I mean, it's part and parcel of surviving the Premier League, isn't it? I mean, the jam's gonna roll for you, whether when it's your luck. When your luck's in, the jam's gonna roll, and you're gonna get all the jam, and you're gonna get the decisions that go in your favour, and you rack up the points. But when it's not, and your teams like Burnley, it always seems to be teams like Burnley and teams that are in the relegation fight, isn't it, that seem to get the poor decisions. But I mean, if you want to be in the league, you've got to survive. You've got to work against these things. Yeah. You've got to find a way.
To be fair, it always evens itself up over the season, doesn't it?
You say this. I think that's one of those cliches that doesn't necessarily come through. But yeah, Let's see what happens. So yeah, anyway, Villa are still in the mix. Like they're second in the league, 3 points behind Liverpool.
Does anyone see them as serious title contenders though? Even though they are up there.
I don't personally, but I think they'll have a
Mm.
say, a potential say in what happens. Whether just kind of taking points off teams around them, etc. Like Liverpool have got to go to Villa at the back end of the season. I think they've got to play City again, so it won't be an easy place to go to, and they're not going to give up many points, like as they've shown. Like, yeah, fair play to them. Like, I
don't think. Sorry, go.
Like I say, I think it will be between them and maybe Spurs for top 4.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're title challengers just yet. I think there may be 1 or 2 key players away from that. But yeah, I agree with Keith. They're probably at best top 4.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
would be really,
it was really
Aston
telling
Villa.
for me last week when they had the chance to go top of the league and they drew at home with Sheffield United. Then the next game went 2-0 up against Man United and then lost to Man United. So I thought, nah, they can't be winning title if you're doing that. Dropping points to Sheffield United at home and losing from 2-0 up.
Yeah, it's about the experience, isn't it? Like a lot of teams, it's tough, man. It's all well and good being there, but when the pressure gets to you, it gets to you. Right, let's just recap some of the other results that happened. So Tottenham beat Bournemouth 3-1. It's a shame that this game wasn't on live. They put it on the same time as Arsenal Fulham. But by all accounts, it wasn't a 3-1 game. Bournemouth were meant to be in the match quite a bit. But Spurs got the win. Crystal Palace beat Brentford 3-1. Brentford are in a bit of trouble, I'd say. Definitely in the relegation mix. Wissa is now injured. Bremo's injured. Obviously, they got Ivan Toney coming back, but it just seems like now he's back, all their firepower are going to be on his shoulders, essentially. So, yeah, I think Brentford need to look over their shoulders a little bit. Manchester City, back from winning the, what's it called? World Club Cup. Won 2-0 against Sheffield United. By all accounts, it was a pretty straightforward victory. Just want to see if KDB came off the bench at all. Nope, didn't come off the bench, so didn't need him. So fair enough on that one. And then, I was a bit surprised by this. Wolves beat Everton 3-0, and it was it was quite comfy. So yeah, Everton after
why are you surprised?
Because Everton had been in quite a good form.
Yeah, but they're not in good enough form where to suggest that they're on a run. They've just been picking up points here and there. They've not played out of their skins. So I'm not surprised. I can't. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really see the surprise in that one.
No, it wasn't a good run. The run ended a while ago. I don't think Everton have won in the last 4 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think it was beginning of December when they won about three or four in a row. But then after that, they lost about 3 games. So their sort of good run has sort of ended. I think they lost to City, they lost to Tottenham, and I think they lost a cup game as well before the Wolves one. But yeah,
they were
Wolves are a
quite
good
unlucky
side.
against
Wolves
Tottenham.
are a good side. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And then just finally happened on Tuesday, West Ham 0, Brighton 0, and that was very, very uneventful. Nothing much to talk about there. So yeah, just heading into the winter break. So you've got Liverpool top with 45 points, ahead of Villa who are on 42, as I just mentioned. And then you've got Man City and Arsenal on 40 points each, with Manchester City obviously having a game in hand. And then at the bottom, we've got Sheffield United, Burnley and Luton. So halfway through the season, are we essentially saying Liverpool, Man City or Arsenal for the title race, or kind of as alluded to by Daz earlier, are you taking Arsenal out of the equation to this one? And it could
Yeah, I
potentially
think
be a Liverpool City.
I think it's a 2-horse race, mate. To be honest.
I think it's too early to say Arsenal are definitely out, but I'm leaning towards the 2-horse race. But yeah, I wouldn't rule Arsenal out completely at this point, especially. There's always the potential of we've not spoken about January windows and stuff like that, and injuries and stuff. So I wouldn't completely write Arsenal off, not just yet.
Do you think
And to
Arsenal
be
are going to
fair,
spend? Sorry.
I hope not.
why not?
So, like, I've seen a few Vlahovic rumours.
You need the
I
striker.
don't think that's realistic. I think the only one that's possibility will be the Tony, but I hope they don't do it. And looking
Why
at
not?
Brentford's position, I think Brentford probably
Yeah, they'd be mad to get rid of him now.
want to entertain.
Yeah, I hear that.
Mm.
Sorry, Isaac, you were going to say something. If you can still
Yeah,
remember.
no, I was just going to say, to be fair, I know I talk very flippantly in this. Yeah, it's a 2-horse race, but I mean, we've got AFCON and the Asian Cup. The only team that's really not affected by that is Man City. And yeah, like we've got the January window, so I am saying 2-horse race because that's my gut feeling, but my head is saying, yeah, wait till the end of January, and then we'll see.
Fair enough. Right, just going to touch on a few topics that happened off the field over the last kind of few days. So the first one is Wayne Rooney being sacked by Birmingham. Can't say I'm surprised that this has happened. I was a bit surprised that he was appointed in the first place. John Eustace was the manager beforehand. He had them sitting 6th in the league after a really good start to the season. We know that there was some American investment in Birmingham just before John Eustace's sacking took place. And Isaac, you and I discussed in our chat that we think the Rooney appointment was a fashionable appointment rather than a footballing one.
Yep.
And
I agree.
if you
Commercial move.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, 100%. Like, obviously, you've got Tom Brady as the face of Burnham's
the
investment consortia.
Yeah.
And I think they wanted to kind of go down that kind of shiny route. And that's not necessarily how it works. Like, we've seen it before. Like, Derby got in, Lampard, granted they got to a playoff final. But having that kind of marquee player coming as a manager doesn't always work. And the reason why I was quite surprised at this signing was because I know he had really kind of his hands tied at Derby, but he didn't really play great football at Derby. His record at DC United was terrible, to say the least. So, yeah, it's a bit surprising. And I think the owners didn't really, you could say they don't really understand football to make that decision. And it kind of come back and bit them on the bum a little bit, hasn't it?
Is it a case of they don't understand, or there was no one pushing with enough pushback? This new investment, new owners, it's Tom Brady. Everyone, he's such a big star in America. He's come over. Birmingham, the higher ups are just happy to have the investment. Yeah, whatever. Maybe. Do you think it's a good idea? What do you think? Yeah, no, it's Wayne Rooney. Yeah, the fans will love it. The players, because of who he is, like you said, the fashionable signing. The players, it will G the players up. Who wouldn't want to play for Wayne Rooney? I think it's just been a case of a lot of yeses, and no one's provided any pushback, any sensible pushback by the looks of it.
Yeah, I agree.
The way I see it is that you said they don't understand football, which is true, but they understand business, and that's what to them. That's what's more important. They're doing the business moves, not football moves.
Yeah.
And getting in Rooney, look how much attention that's brought to Birmingham. Look at us now. We're on here talking about Birmingham. We would never be talking about Birmingham otherwise in a million years. So that's exactly what they want. How many clicks and storylines and everything have they had about Birmingham all over everywhere, Twitter, internet, all Sky Sports, everywhere. They've brought attention to themselves. Now everyone knows who Birmingham's owners are and everything. That's what they want. It's a business move.
But But at what cost? They were 6th when he
Mm.
came in. They're 20th as of last time I checked.
Yeah, last round of fixtures.
Yeah.
That's only 2 wins from 15. That's poor. Don't get me wrong. I agree with everything you're saying in terms of it's a business move. But at what cost? Because now apparently Eustace is open to coming back, and if he doesn't, they've now got to then go and find another manager, and it's no longer about playoffs and promotion. It's now
That's
survival,
Staying up. Yeah, staying up.
and staying up in the Championship for another season when you could have been playing or aiming to play in the Premiership next season.
Yeah.
So,
and we know the Championship is a very unforgiving league, isn't it? Like it's
very.
It's very hard to get out of, man. Like it's it's crazy. Like obviously Birmingham have been down there for however many years. So yeah, I think this will be a lesson to a lot of kind of American or foreign owners coming into English football and trying to make their stamp on things.
It won't be. It won't be. The next owner would do exactly the same. The next owner would do exactly the same thing. Go and get a shiny name. Do you think them guys in America, they've never heard of John Eustace? Who's that? We'll get rid of him. Let's get Wayne Rooney, and he's the top goal scorer ever for England. We know him.
On the flip
He's
side,
been to World Cups. The next owner will do exactly the same thing.
Actually,
Cargo say Wrexham. Like they've got Phil Parkinson. Like he's a known manager, but he's not like a superstar. And they've stuck with him for a while. I'm not sure if they've changed their manager since they've been there. Forget like Isaac, you might know.
Parky's still in place. He's still taking him up.
So
they're flying at the moment.
Yeah. So
but that's a different level. You're not going to get Wayne Rooney.
I agree with you.
It's a different level.
It's a different level.
He's not going to come into the National League.
It was similar in the sense of Parky was a well-known name in the lower leagues.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a coup signing because getting someone like him to leave the leagues and come into the National League, the conference, was a big thing at that level.
Okay, so he's the big fish at that level. Yeah.
Yes. So he's coming. There's backing. Yeah, they've got a big wage bill. Yeah, they've got a good manager. Can you hear that? Yeah. I told you.
South London for you, isn't it?
That's South London, mate. Yeah, they've got a big manager. But it's worked. Like Keith said, it's worked and it's doing well for them. My question is, we've seen Lampard fail. We've seen Gerrard fail. We've seen Wayne Rooney fail. Any other man? Sol Campbell failed. Although he didn't last long. He didn't stick around too long. Gary Neville failed.
Phil Neville.
Phil Neville failed. Like all these
There's
top
a certain
level
generation of players.
Henry.
Henry didn't do well. Pirlo didn't do well. He had to go out to Turkey. He's only just come back to Italy.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of these high level players, Vieira, exactly. A lot of these high level players are not crossing over into management. Don't get me wrong, you've got the likes of Zinedine Zidane, Pep Guardiola, Arteta arguably.
Alonso.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there are players who do transfer over, but the majority don't seem to do so. Is that now going to affect the way owners come in and look at managers? Because I hear what you're saying, they're going to continue bringing in the fashionable name, but now we've got more high profile cases. Is it a case of, okay, they're going to come in and be like, whoa, actually, hold on. Just because you won a few trophies as a player, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do well as a manager.
I think you're going to go to the Mr. Blue model where he's got his database and picking out players like Graham Potter, De Zerbi, and I don't think it'll have to be the fashionable name because it's seen that those players, as you said, are not necessarily delivering, where you've got the managers like your De Zerbis who are kind of flying under the radar, your Iriolas, sorry.
Whoa. Calm down.
We've got a slip of the tongue.
It's a family show, mate.
I think there'll be more managers like that.
So I went back and watched the overlap interview with Steven Gerrard, and just off of the conversation we had about fashionable managers, and I went back and I thought, let me see what his take is on, how he got into management, his pathway into management, and he spoke about, going to Liverpool and Klopp giving him the under-18s, and then him going to Rangers, and then obviously landing at Villa at the time. That's where he was, and don't get me wrong, I personally don't necessarily feel he's done enough groundwork in terms of like finding out what his style is, finding out what works. I mean, the under-18s is a different game to the men's game. To then go into Rangers, and then arguably you could say, well, you had in Rangers. Let's be honest, there's only really two teams in the SPL, and it's
but in his defence, he did stop Celtic dominance in it.
No, and I understand that, but I mean, there's only two teams. Like, if you're going to do it, I'd expect you to do it with Rangers. Now, that being said, Van Bronckhorst coming in after him and didn't do well, and a few other managers haven't done well. But let's be honest, it's not a case of you haven't really tested yourself in the like you said, the Championship, which is one of the hardest leagues to get out, or in another country where the style of football is just completely different, the culture is different, the players, you've got to learn another language or get over that language barrier, so I don't feel like he did enough. You look at Lampard was just handed a job. Let's be honest, where did he go and do his boat? Where did he go and do his groundwork? So I feel like, but then someone on the other hand will say, well, Pep was given the reserve team at Barcelona. Then he was given the first team at Barcelona.
But he showed what he could do in the reserve team, innit?
Exactly. Same with the Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso had to work at Real Sociedad. He came through Real.
Jump though, even if Pep to go from Barcelona B to go to Barcelona first team, that's massive. That's huge.
It's not really. If you look at the Barcelona B team he had at the time. Remember, he brought some of those players into the first team and they became first team staples. So was it Alba, Busquets? They all came from that B team and they were under him in that team there. And
even when you was talking then, I was thinking even Gerrard going from Liverpool under-18s to Rangers. That's huge. That's a massive jump.
Massive.
Yeah, that's a massive jump. And he ain't, no one's doing that jump unless you're Dave Stevie Gerrard. Like, you ain't getting that. You ain't getting that at all.
You ain't even getting the under-18s without having to prove that you've done. Like, show me a player, a mid-level, low-level player that's able to just walk back to their old club and just be like, yeah, I want to get into managing. What do you reckon? What do you think about me taking the under-18s? Or the gaffer saying, yeah, of course, go and take the under-18s. It's not happening. Like you said, unless you're Steven Gerrard, unless you're Frank Lampard, unless you're someone of that ilk. And I just think it's time we really, really, or that kind of through path into management, it was just put aside, man. Give people proper chances. All right, yeah, cool. You won us a few trophies, yeah, fantastic. But go and show us what you can really do. Go and interview for a team. Go and show them your dossier, your Brendan Rodgers dossier. Go and show them, here's what I've done. I've done my badges. I've done that. This is my philosophy. Go and prove that you can do it. Earn your stripes. Stop relying on my name. You know what I mean? I mean, even
what you're describing is the way it should be. What you're describing is the way it should be, but in the real world, unfortunately, that's not the way. It's not the way it's done.
Yeah, like we all work in environments where it's kind of who you know sometimes, and it will kind of get you a job, etc. But I think within football, like you say, you've got to earn your stripes, and if you don't, like we're seeing with a lot of these kind of former players, it can have a massive detriment. Like Lampard has been in management, 4-5 years, if that, and like I wouldn't know anyone that would hire him in like the top two leagues. Like he would have to start again from fresh, and I don't think I don't know him personally in it, but I don't think he'd be willing to go down to like League One or League Two to get back his managerial
And that's
credentials.
crazy.
So
What have you done in management that allows you to talk like that or to think like that?
yeah,
No,
Like,
I
I could
think
understand.
Lampard could get a job in the Championship. I think he could easily get another job in the Championship.
Yeah, but
Easy,
to
easy.
have the thought process of I'm not going down to manage League One or League Two. Big man, you've not done anything in the higher league. You've not done anything that proves that you're capable of walking into another job. Like I can't remember. I was listening. I think it was Talksport, and he was talking about Steve Cooper's waiting for another Prem job because apparently his name was being banded around for the Birmingham
Palace
job.
job.
Mm.
Oh,
the
I thought
Birmingham
Oh,
job.
for
Palace. Yeah.
Birmingham. Oh, okay. That'd
Yeah,
be a
yeah.
decent job for him.
I heard that they were. Well, that's what they were saying on the radio, and apparently he's kind of already ruled himself out because he wants another Prem job. He thinks he's capable of it, and fair enough. He done a good enough job with Nottingham Forest. I think he
Yeah,
done
he
a better
did.
job at Forest than Lampard did at Chelsea, if we're being honest.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Um,
100%.
so I could understand him with that thought process. I understand when Graham Potter felt like that. I think he's been out the game a little too wild, for too long, so he might need to go down to the Championship.
Yeah,
Who
Cooper
knows? He
understands.
might not.
He's done that. I understand he's
Yeah,
done that.
you know. But Lamps, I think Gerrard, if Gerrard gets sacked from Etihad, I think players like that, Wayne Rooney, they've got to go down to League Two, League One. You've got to earn your bones, mate. You've got to.
Yeah.
But the only thing
One.
is, wouldn't they find it even harder down there because they've got no experience of that? Even as playing, they came straight into Premier League, so they've never played in them sort of levels. Well, how would they wouldn't be good managers down there? Wouldn't they
No, but
be
I think
better?
that shows your
Go
worth
on.
a little bit more, innit? Like if you can cut your teeth down there where it's not easy and it's not what you know, and you can be like, right, they're giving teams good performances and moving up the ranks. I think it will give them more stead to kind of do better as they go on because they've been down there, got their hands dirty. Let's see how you can do now. You back up where you haven't just been handed like a golden chalice. You know what I mean?
It's like with any job, right? You don't walk into your job and automatically assume senior level positions, right? You've got to walk in at least junior level, entry level, or mid level, depending on what kind of experience in terms of your coaching badges, etc. Whatever. I'm trying to relate it to, normal 9 to 5 to coaching. You don't walk in and go straight to the Prem level unless you've really proven you've got something about you before even attempting to go down that route. Whether that be through, assistant coach, manager jobs, coach jobs. I think you do need to go in at the lower levels and prove that you can survive, prove that you can hang in these tough conditions. Because then, like Keith said, you've proven you can cut your teeth, you've proven you're resilient, and then you can go into the top levels. And then right now, that's where your own experience comes in, coupled with the experience you've picked up as a manager in the lower leagues. Now let's see what you've got.
What you're describing, do we have any examples of anyone that's actually done that though? Well, when I think of top names that have been to League One, League Two, I'm thinking of Hasselbank, done a good job at Burton. I'm thinking, was it Paul Ince was down there at one point. Paul Merson was at
Dennis
Walsall.
Wise
Yeah,
started
but
off
I'm thinking
quite
these
low as
guys,
well.
they all ended up falling off. Like none of them ever made it to the top, even though
But
some
you
of
know
them
what?
done decent jobs.
But I
Paul
think with
Merson apart.
a lot of those teams, a lot of those managers, I think they took the step too early. Like you look at Paul Ince, done a really good job at MK Dons, went to Blackburn too early. You look at Hasselbank, again, done a really good job at Burton. Who did he go to after Burton? Was it Blackburn as well? Did he go to? I can't remember. Like whoever he went to after Burton, Hasselbank, it was just too early. I think you need to spend a lot of time just cutting your teeth. Like I know it's good when someone comes in for you and you're kind of like, yeah, this is where I want to get to. I think sometimes you just got to take your time, man. A lot of like we see with like players sometimes they make that move a little bit too early in their career. It doesn't necessarily work out. I think the same thing happens with managers. Cut your teeth as long as possible. Get your style of play and be like, right, I've done it in League One for 2 years. I've done it in Championship for 2 years. Now I might be able to do it at a higher Championship team for a year or two. Now I can do it in the Prem. It's like everything needs to be rushed, fast-paced, and yeah. I know I'm talking from the outside looking in, but yeah.
I'll give you an example It's not modern. It's not someone that's new. So he's very senior in the game. We all know it is. He's won many trophies as a player, as a manager. But you look at Carlo Ancelotti, right? Just pulled up his stats quickly. He was an assistant for 3 years, right? Then he went to a low Serie B team, and then he put, proved his worth there. Then he come up and he went to Parma. Parma, don't get me wrong, Parma had a lot of talent in that team, but he's proven his worth there. Then he's gone on to the big teams. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not about just walking, all right, I've retired now, do my badges, all right, who's going to take me, and then walk into a top team. I don't think you should do that. I think you really should. I think these players should be assistants. I don't even think they should be sniffing managers' jobs until they've got at least 4 or 5 years of relevant experience in coaching, as an assistant, something where they've gone and studied the game as a manager, the transition, really learned how to not be a player anymore and be a coach.
But I hear you. But even if you look at someone like Arteta, he was just assistant at Man City, and then he just walked into one of the biggest clubs in the country to be manager.
Yeah, it's mad.
I think that's the case of who you know, to be honest.
It happens. It's gonna. I don't see it ever changing.
If he wasn't assistant under Pep, he wouldn't have got that job, innit? If he was just a number 2 elsewhere, I don't think he gets that job.
Totally agree. That's why I say it's a case of who you know and your association. He's associated with Pep. They go, all right, he must know what he's doing. Bring him in.
That's what it is. It's always going to be who you know. In football, it's always going to be who you know, rather than what you know.
Is Eddie Howe. Like, he was at Bournemouth for 10 plus years as a manager, from League 1 or 2 up to the Premier League, and he had opportunities to leave and stuff, but I thought he was like, no, let me just kind of ride it out and see what we done. And he's now become a top manager, an established Premier League manager. So it has shown that if you kind of stay and cut your teeth in the lower leagues, then it can pay off for you. So, right, let's round off with one more quick topic. What do you want to do, Saka, Sancho, or AFCON?
I think AFCON.
Yeah, cool.
AFCON.
Right. So we know AFCON starts in just over a week's time, and so does the Asia Cup. And kind of this topic is more about, will they be respected more if they were moved to the summer and players wouldn't have to leave their domestic leagues in kind of crucial parts of the season, mainly more for the English teams. But there's a lot of teams losing kind of 2, 3, some teams losing 4 players for this tournament and could miss up to 4, 5, 6 games. So I think they tried to do the AFCON once in the summer, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. And for some reason they reverted it back to January. So would it get more respect if they moved it, or is it a case of this is when the tournament is, you sign players who you know are going to play in this tournament, get on with it? What's your take on it?
I don't think it will get more respect, regardless of when it's played in the year. If I'm honest, I don't want to get in my Doctor Who bag, but I'll be completely honest with you. They're going to find an issue with the AFCON, regardless of when it's played. Do you find that you don't hear them talking about the Asian Cup the same way they do the AFCON? They don't talk about Africa, the players going over to Asia, and they don't talk about Son. Ask Son, why are you going over there? Why would you want to play in that? As if to say he's not representing his country in the biggest tournament outside of the World Cup for his country. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I don't hear none of that rhetoric unless it's an African player, and we've been hearing it year on year, as long as I can remember. Anytime the AFCON approaches, oh my God, it's a big hoo-ha. But when Son's got to go,
it's a surprise, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, do you not understand? And even when Son had to go and do his national duty, it was talked about like it was such a big thing. I mean, like a good thing. Oh yeah, he's got to go and do his time in the national army, etc., etc. And I think there was another player that had to do it that went, and again, it wasn't met with the same vitriol that you get that you see when it's AFCON players. So in my view, I don't care when it's played. They're going to find an issue with it. Honestly.
What?
Opposite on it. I think it would be more respected if it was in the summer. I think a lot of what you hear about it is due to the inconvenience. The way, because it's in January and your players are leaving, that's why it's an inconvenience. With the Asia Cup, to be honest, that don't affect many people. It's ongoing, that's affecting one club. In AFCON, there's a lot more African players in the Premier League than what there is in the Asia players. So that's why I
the
think
Premier League, bro.
but that's what I think. That's what we hear talk about the most. I don't know how they feel about in Italy and Spain and other countries, but in the Premier League, it's spoken about African players because that's who people have. And then you've got I think your manager Klopp was one of the worst ones to talk about it. He was really detrimental about when Mane and Salah and all, because he was affected the most. So he was really detrimental, and then that people then feed off of that. And then it even goes now, Pep Guardiola, he doesn't sign African players. He does not sign African players purely for the fact that they're going to be going. He does not find no African players. And do you know what? It's bad. It is bad on the players because they're the ones missing out. There could be players, African players, that are good enough to play for Man City. He's not going to sign you purely for the fact that you're going to have to go off during the middle of the season.
It's because, we've watched AFCON for many years, isn't it? And I would say 10, 15 years ago, the quality, aside from the top players, so from your Drogbas and your Etus, etc., your SCNs, there was a lot of poor quality matches in the AFCON and a lot of poor quality players. And I think that didn't help it kind of steady the tournament happening mid-season. I think if you go back to the last tournament and the one before then, you can see the quality has improved a lot, and a lot more people are like, oh, this is actually a good tournament. I think there's been a lot of comparison to the Euros or the Copa America, and the quality is not there, innit? But I think as the quality of the tournament gets better, I think I'd say the media will become more friendly to the tournament. I think that's happening more and more. I think if you go to this tournament, there's a lot. I think the quality of play will be a lot better, and there'll be less resistance to people going to the tournament going forward.
I hope you're right, but I can't see it.
I genuinely can't see it either. I think, as I said before, there's always going to be contention, and they're always going to find a way to talk down on the AFCON. They never.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Always. So
yeah,
it is what it is, man. I
Yeah,
mean, and they did have plans to move it to summer. This one that's happening now, it was actually meant to be summer gone, but
okay.
You've also got to factor in weather conditions.
Yeah, really hot, isn't it? Depending on what country
So,
they have it in.
I mean, they don't have the infrastructure and the money to do what Qatar does. So we're not going to see brand new stadiums built to facilitate the tournament or, living conditions for tourists. So it is what it is.
Do you think they get more viewing figures being in January rather than having it in the summer, where you got the Euros and the Copa America all going at the same time?
Possibly. That's a good shout.
Yeah, possibly. And it's interesting you say on viewing figures because up until 2 days ago, there wasn't a UK broadcaster. Picked up.
What's going on?
There you go.
It,
See,
yeah. So
they don't respect
one of those things.
Show it. What's going on?
Yeah, so I think it'd be one of those things where a broadcaster will pick it up maybe like 2 or 3 days beforehand at a really
and get it for cheap and then undervalue it basically. Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, this is it, which is a bit of a shame because, like you say, there's a lot of good African nation players that go out to the tournament that people want to see. So it's a shame that it's not really kind of advertised a bit more. But yeah, let's see, man. Hopefully it's a good tournament. Everyone that goes there doesn't get injured, comes back safe and sound. And yeah.
Can I get a winner from you both? Can I get a prediction winner?
I'm always on the fence, mate. It's either Nigeria or Ghana for me.
I'm gonna say big Big Egypt, Big Mo. I think he's ready to win it, man.
Mm.
Mo Salah. But obviously,
I'm gonna go Senegal.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they won it last, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, fair enough. Good shout.
Senegal, Nigeria,
Well, you
Ghana,
got Morocco though. They've
Egypt,
done brilliant
Morocco,
in the World Cup.
Morocco,
Morocco, if
and
they can carry
Algeria.
on their
Yeah.
form. Mm.
Yeah, be
It's gonna
interesting.
be
So
it's
we'll
gonna
be
be an
keeping
interesting tournament.
we're keeping you guys up to date on that. We'll be back on Sunday for a little recap of the FA Cup and the big fixture between Arsenal and Liverpool. There's actually a fixture going on now, Everton and Palace. Calvert-Lewin just been sent off for Everton, 0-0 at the minute. Just on this, what do you think about them playing an FA Cup game on a Thursday in the third round?
Why are they doing that?
A lot of people are saying the FA Cup's being devalued and the FA are not doing much to help their case. Like, just after Christmas, and you've got Evertonian fans coming down to London, third day into January. Like, it's crazy.
Some would argue fixture congestion. It's usually like this, blah 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 blah, whatever. But I agree. The FA Cup has been devalued, and it will continue to be devalued to a point where it's almost on par with the League Cup if they continue down this road.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, thank you very much, guys. To our viewers and listeners, please like, subscribe, follow, share, and all that good stuff. And we will see you soon. Peace.
Thank you. Cheers.
Peace.